God also foreknew his children who would be living in these times and what they would be like and how they would think. Being infinitely intelligent, foreknowing everything, God chose every word, etc., of the Bible to be as it is, from when it was written, choosing with foreknowledge of how it would read today, foreknowing us now. God intentionally designed the Bible to read as it does, inspiring the men who wrote it to write precisely what they did write. The Bible makes special note that God intentionally designed prophecy to read exactly as it does, down to every word, inspiring men to write specific words or speak specific words, which were then written down. Therefore, a God with infinite intelligence and with no limiting factors, if he wanted to, could have controlled and intentionally designed the Bible in such a way to make sure a particular message of prophecy about the still-to-come future got through to us, foreknowing what we would be like in these times, and do so in such a way we could accept it with fair surety, the church being as it is now. The Bible is supernaturally interactive and was intentionally designed to be interactive with intentionally designed man in an intentionally designed universe in a powerful supernatural way, even meant for our limited use in that way. God has intentional purposes for the Bible that are supernaturally interactive. Therefore, God could have made sure that by logic and reasoning anyone could see a sound that those with the gift of prophecy in this time could hear from God about the soon-to-come future and understand revelation solely through interaction with the Bible and with God taking into account the knowledge and resources God foreknew would be on hand in this time, including things like the internet, blueletterbible.org, and the ability to do word searches, and the level of public education and historical resources available for anyone to study history in a great amount of detail. It's things like that. And so there we have covered knowledge of the holy as to his ways. Now, what are God's ways? As Proverbs 14:8 says, we need to understand his way to have wisdom. The word here for his way is direct, and among other things it means manner, habit, or way. A manner or habit is something that repeats or is a pattern, and recognizing patterns is useful in cryptography. Proverbs says we need to understand God's habits and patterns. So what are some of the patterns, habits, or is the manner of God when it comes to teaching us? For the wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way. Now the Bible teaches that God designed the world to be in such a way that we would learn of him and learn truth about him through what is self-evidential. For example, creation is proof that we are created, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Another example is that God made us in his image. We have thoughts and feelings, the ability to reason with logic, to see that there is a difference between a truth and a lie. He made us to be like him in these respects, and the Bible also teaches that God has thoughts, feelings, and reasoning. Also, God is an individual like we each are, and has a unique personality or style as we each do. Thus we can better understand what God is like by what self-evidentially exists in our own makeup. Also, that God made us in his image, we look like God. God is invisible in spirit, but Jesus made the world, and whether male or female, we look like Jesus Christ. And this helps us understand the truth that Jesus Christ is God the Son. And the Bible teaches that God designed the world to be in such a way that we would learn of him by what is both self-evidential and also through symbolism and symbolic analogies, or symbolic replacements. By design in families, God made us to have a father to help us understand the relationship with him as our father and us as his children. Now, some people argue Christians invented God as a father figure because we are familiar with that idea. No, actually, in truth, this is the other way around. We did not invent God as a father because that is what we understood. Rather, God intentionally invented fathers to help us understand relating to him. Next example, by design, God made male and female to help us understand we can be loved by God with the same love as He loves Jesus, but while still being different than Jesus and meant to follow Him. God also gave us mothers to help us understand there is a very soft, loving, nurturing, intimate side to Him, somehow coming second, but also co-equal to the more obedience requiring, respect and justice side to Him. Another example, by design, God made marriage to help us understand relationship with Him in Jesus Christ as our husband, the husband of the church. And by design, God made siblings to help us relate to Jesus Christ as our older firstborn brother. And the Bible also teaches that God designed the world to be in such a way that we would learn to please Him and learn to follow His ways, obey Him, and show obedience to Him in practice by what is both self-evidential and also through symbolism and symbolic replacements. Ultimately, being made in the image of God, the image of Jesus Christ, to each other we are like symbolic replacements for Jesus, in that this standard of measure is evidenced in God's moral laws. Now, we are not dolls and by no means are regarded by God as dolls, but in a visual analogy, Jesus Christ is the original imaged creator, and we are created by Him and made to look like Him. Much as a human might make dolls that look human. So first example, so we are not to make idols of people or anything God has made. As we were made in the image of Jesus Christ to look like Him, if we make idols, we are sort of symbolically replacing ourselves into the role of God as the Creator. It symbolizes in a way that we are playing God. And He says, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow thyself down to them, nor serve them." And the next example, we are not to kill each other, as we are all made in the image of Jesus Christ, and we are like symbolic replacements of each other and of Him in this. "Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God made He man. Thou shalt not kill." The next example, we are to love our neighbor as ourselves, as if our neighbor was a symbolic replacement representing ourselves. "And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these." In Leviticus 9, "Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord." Next example, for us Christians, we are to love each other as Jesus loved us. What people do unto His brethren, we do unto Him, as His body, and as like symbolic replacements for Him. John 15, "As the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love. If ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in His love. These things I have spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you." 1 John 4, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and every one that loveth is born of God, and knoweth God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. If a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen, how can he love God whom he hath not seen? And this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God love his brother also." In Matthew 25, "And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me." So what we can learn about His ways is that they are self-evidential, that they use self-evidential symbolic analogies, and that his laws are also self-evidential and use symbolic replacements or analogies. God is an individual like we each are, and has a unique personality or style as we each do. Jesus Christ is himself the marker, beginning and end, creator also, and Son of God, bridging the gap between an eternal God and us linear creations bound in the created dimension of time. The Bible refers to Jesus Christ as the Word become flesh, the Scriptures become flesh. Therefore, as Jesus is an individual with a unique personality or style, and he is God, and he is the Word made flesh, it logically follows that Jesus is the Holy Bible in a way, and that way being best described as Jesus being the designer, author, producer of the entire Bible. If the entire Bible has one man behind it who is God, Jesus Christ, then it logically follows then that same as any man as an author, the entire Bible would reflect the unique personality, the writing style of Jesus Christ. And the Bible teaches that God designed the world to be in such a way that we would learn of him and learn truth about him through what is self-evidential, and also through symbolism and symbolic analogies and symbolic replacements, and that we would learn to please him and learn to follow his ways and obey him and show obedience to him in practice by what is both self-evidential and also through symbolism and symbolic replacements or analogies. Therefore, if Jesus Christ intentionally designed the entire world to be in such a way that we would learn of him through what is self-evidential and symbolism and symbolic replacements, this could be considered Jesus' way of teaching us things. If this is Jesus Christ's way of doing things, then as Jesus Christ also designed the entire Bible as it is, then it logically follows that the Bible would also be designed to teach us by the method of what is self-evidential and using symbolism and symbolic replacements and analogies. According to Proverbs, God's intentionally chosen specific words are true, and God wants us to stick to his intentionally chosen specific words. Therefore, we must neither add nor take away. We must neither add more meaning than the words honestly reflect, nor ignore meaning that is there that the words honestly are reflecting. Did God say is the oldest trick of temptation, leading to sin in the Holy Bible. We have to trust that our infinitely intelligent, all-powerful, all-knowing, foreknowing, eternal, loving God and Savior said exactly what he meant and meant exactly what he said for a purpose. For this generation, in these times, even a purpose he had for you or me in particular, who were foreknown to him from before he made the world, that he had in mind thousands of years ago when he chose just how to inspire Moses or Ezekiel, etc., to write, foreknowing what would result in your or my hands today. And with infinite intelligence chose to interact precisely as was needed then, to result for us to have the truth of the Holy Bible in our hands today. The Bible is truth and holy. So, keeping all of this in mind, let's proceed to read Genesis, also keeping in mind that we are looking for insight into solving the puzzles and riddles of prophecy, even looking for something along the lines of a cryptographic key. So, please get a Bible and open up and follow along. And we'll also be displaying this on the screen.